Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Ever since the 19th National Congress, ecological civilization has been closely related with our social and cultural environment. In 2022, President Xi Jinping published an article saying that agriculture is about ecology, while rural area is about ecological system as well. Ecological cooperation has been a big part in Sino-German relations. With the support of the heads of state, our cooperation has been developing rapidly with increasing technological exchanges and personnel training projects. In this regard, we have made significant progress. Today, we gather at the beautiful city of Bengbu to hold a dialogue so as to share insights on ecological agriculture, exchange new models and technologies to improve the transformation toward ecological agriculture. Now, please allow me to introduce the guests today. Ms. Xing Kexia, Deputy Director General of Rural Energy and Environment Agency of MARA. Mr. Luo Shiming, Professor of South China Agricultural University. Mr. Heinz-Peter from University for Science and Technology in Beijing. Dr. Yingmu from University of Leipzig. And Mr. Yuhui from China Agricultural University. Ms. Deise Aline from Shiming University. Ms. Katharina Riehn from Hamburg University of Applied Science. Welcome again. I am Xu Yinghao, Division Director of Rural Energy and Environment Agency of MARA. Now let's move to the first agenda item of today. Let's welcome Ms. Xing Kexia, Deputy Director General of Rural Energy and Environment Agency of MARA, to deliver remarks. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very pleased to come to the beautiful city of Bengbu, the birthplace of the Huaihe River culture, for the Sino-German Agricultural Week. I'm also very honored to organize and host the third session of the dialogue today, which invites experts and scholars from China and Germany to share achievements of the development of ecological agriculture, explore development directions, and further promote sustainable agriculture. On behalf of the Rural Energy and Environment Agency of MARA, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all the experts, representatives, and guests present here today. Chinese civilization boasts a long history and a rich farming culture. Through thousands of years of agricultural production, the Chinese people developed the earliest conceptions of circular ecology. For instance, the idea that man and nature can be regarded as one and people should use resources properly. Development models such as the fine tillage, soil restoration also began to take shape. In the 1980s, China drew on experience of ecological agriculture of other countries, proposed its own concept of ecological farming, and identified 3 provinces, 10 cities, and 102 counties for circular agriculture demonstration, and also 431 nation-level ecological farms, thus creating a 4-level system. Development models have been built, including the pig biogas fruit model, the rice fish culture system, and the forest fruit model, thus forming a pattern of small cycles in entities, medium cycle in industrial zones, and large cycles in counties. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, the government has paid more attention to green development of circular agriculture. A series of policies and measures have been launched. In 2017, China issued guidelines on innovating institutions and mechanisms for green development of agriculture and build a system to ensure efficient use of resources, good production environments, and stable ecosystem. Chinese ministries issued the National Plan for Agricultural Sustainability to protect production environment, repair ecosystem, and foster low-carbon industrial chains. Systematic arrangements are made for the all-round low-carbon transformation in agriculture. In addition, MARA also launched actions to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, promote livestock and poultry manure treatment at county level, and boost circular crop and animal farming to increase fertilizer and pesticide efficiency, recycle straws and agricultural plastics. In our work, we have taken multiple approaches to promote circular agriculture, support green agriculture, and enhance agricultural sustainability. On crop farming, China has promoted organic fertilizers, soil testing, and formula fertilization, fertigation, and pest and disease prevention and control to reduce the input of chemical fertilizers and enhance black soil protection. On livestock and poultry farming, China has focused on large-scale intensive and standardized farming to improve production efficiency. The utilization of livestock manure has been enhanced. On agricultural entities, China has promoted the construction of ecological farms. Many nation-level farms have been built. By 2025, there will be 1,000 nation-level such farms across the country, and each province is expected to set up 10,000 ecological farms so that we can select and support modern and efficient agricultural entities and promote technical models in this regard. Meanwhile, China has also carried out international cooperation to introduce advanced concepts, technologies, and equipment. Demonstration projects have been implemented and generated fruitful outcomes. From 2012 to 2018, agricultural authorities launched biogas cooperation through technical exchanges and innovative research. The projects has promoted the construction of large-scale biogas facilities and supported development of circular agriculture. From 2014 to 2020, MARA and the World Bank launched the project on climate-smart major food crop production and established more than 6,000 hectares of climate-smart production demonstration area for rice, wheat, and corn in Anhui and Henan provinces, thus collecting a series of technical models on carbon emission reduction. Now we are working with the FAO to implement projects on the innovation and transformation of sustainable agriculture of the DEF to improve agricultural ecosystems, extend agricultural value chains, and protect agricultural biodiversity. Currently, global agricultural development is facing challenges such as climate change, resource constraints, and environmental pollution. Against such a backdrop, promoting ecological agriculture can help ease resource and environmental pressures. As countries with strong agricultural strengths, China and Germany have extensive cooperation and exchanges. Germany has rich experience in ecological agriculture concepts, management systems, technological innovation, and mechanization, while China has an enormous industrialized and diversified agricultural sector. The two sides can achieve mutual benefit and win-win results through mutual learning. We believe that the dialogue today will be beneficial to strengthening technical exchanges on ecological agriculture between the two countries. It can help us deepen cooperation and contribute to agricultural sustainability. Lastly, I wish the dialogue a full success and the Agricultural Week fruitful results. Thank you.
Thank you, DDG Xin Kexia. Ecological development is a very important approach for us to conserve environment and resources. It is also a strong boost to agricultural development and a path to joint growth of both the economy and the agriculture. Thank you for your sharing of China's practices and experience. Now let's come to the second agenda item. Now let's give the floor to our second speaker, Mr. Heinz-Peter Mang, the guest professor from the University of Science and Technology, Beijing. Mr. Wang is dedicated to eco-environment and agro-ecology. Now let's give the floor to Mr. Heinz-Peter Wang.
Yes, thank you very much to be present here. Have a good day to everyone, and thanks to being here on this third day. My name is Heinz-Peter Mang, and as prepared together with my colleague, Professor Dr. Li Fu, we are very well excited to present on the circular economy in agriculture, focusing on utilization of residues. Maybe some words to myself. My journey with China started 41 years ago. 1982, I was a trainee in Chengdu in the Biogas Research and Training Center. 1985, I was attending the IVA Biogas Anaerobic Digestion Conference in Guangzhou. And 2000, I worked for the ADB as team leader for the Ministry of Agriculture for the first international biogas program development in China. And from 2004 to 2007, I was in the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Engineering as a biogas expert. And since 2008, I joined the University of Science and Technology in Beijing as for eco-sanitation and for bioenergy. The presentation today is a product of our international cooperation through the Center of Sustainable Environmental Sanitation at the University of Science and Technology in Beijing. I will present this some slides later. Today, I have come to Yingmu to share insights on this important topic and discuss the lessons from global practice, and for today's workshop, of course, mainly from Germany. We already heard from speakers, from other speakers, that Germany has made significant strides in implementing ecological circular agriculture. No. To introduce, let's start setting the stage for today's discussion. The concept for a circular economy represents a paradigm shifting and moving away from the traditional linear model of take, make, and dispose to a more sustainable and regenerative system. This shift is not just necessary, it is imperative for survival and prosperity of our communities, economies, and the planet as a whole. The importance of circular economy is crucial, especially in the context of agriculture. It promotes the reuse and recycling of materials, aiming to create a closed loop and minimize waste and optimize resource utilization. This approach is not just environmental friendly, it's about creating a resilient and sustainable economy that can withstand future challenges. For example, we have EU guidelines from April 2018, which facilitates the feed of certain foods no longer intended for human consumption. Another example is contributing to sustainable economic growth by decoupling economic activities from resource consumption which is published by the European Environmental Agency in January 21 under the title Growth Without Economic Growth. Let's look now in a topic which maybe is not directly, which you think is not directly related, the sanitation issue. The sanitation waste can contaminate water bodies if not properly managed. It leads to a degradation of aquatic ecosystems. The improper disposal of sanitation waste can lead to soil contamination, affects agriculture and natural environment. What we have to understand is the sanitation waste chain and its impact that can contribute to developing a circular economy where waste is minimized and resources are reused and recycled. Conventional sanitation systems often led to losing valuable nutrients that could be recovered and reused. In conventional wastewater treatment system, human excrement is mixed with a large volume of high-quality water, leading to the dilution of nutrients and makes the recovery more challenging. During this mixed wastewater treatment, nutrition can be transformed into substances not readily available for the plants, or all are lost to the atmosphere. For example, nitrogen is converted to nitrogen gas and released. Many conventional sanitation systems need more infrastructure and technology to recover nutrients such as phosphorus. A circular economy approach promotes the recovery of nutrients from waste for use in agriculture, enhancing soil fertility, and reducing the dependence of synthetic fertilizer. Circular sanitation system can facilitate wastewater treatment and reuse and help to address water scarcity and promoting sustainable water management. If we are recycling such organic waste, these systems can reduce surface and groundwater pollution. And the system can reduce greenhouse gas emission by promoting renewable energy like biogas. Implementing a sanitation and a circular sanitation system can lead to cost saving in the long run because valuable resources are recovered. And the sanitation reform supports the sustainable development goals. For example, the goal for including clean water and sanitation, the goal 6, including clean water sanitation, 6, responsible consumption and production, number 12, and climate action, the goal 13. Circular sanitation systems are more resilient to external shocks, such as resource scarcity, climate change, and economic fluctuation. In the nutrient recovery, we have to understand that many cities lacked sewer systems in the 19th century. Building extensive sewer networks was crucial for waste disposal and preventing the contamination for drinking water. Providing access to adequate sanitation systems, such as appropriate and safe toilets and hand washing stations, was and is still essential for improving public health. But nutrient recovery is vital to making all this innovation sustainable. By utilizing this waste, nutrition from this waste, the dependency of non-renewable resources used to produce synthetic fertilizers is given. It's calculated that in Germany, we can recover 17 to 25% of the synthetic fertilizer we can reduce by recycling of sanitation nutrients. But we need innovative technologies that nutrients are efficiently separated and utilized to contribute to the soil fertility. The transition from viewing waste as a risk to recognize as a resource is emblematic for the paradigm shift what we are advocating today. Looking in the recycling of subproducts from toilets, recycling toilet subproducts into fertilizer is a sustainable practice that aligns with circular economy principle, turning waste into a valuable resource. For example, urine is rich in nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It can be treated through pasteurization, struvite precipitation, nitrification to be stabilized and concentrate nutrients. Feces can be treated through composting, pyrolysis, and anaerobic digestion. These processes reduce pathogens, stabilize material, and transform it into a soil-like substance. By reusing sanitation subproducts in agriculture, it involves rigorous testing and monitoring of waste material, ensuring that they are safe and beneficial for agricultural use. Waste is then seen as a resource and recycled to a maximum extent. Several European countries have pioneered closing the loop eco-sanitation practice and demonstrate benefits. Let's look on some examples. Sweden has promoted eco-toilet use, including composting urine diversion toilets, and which separates urine from feces for easier and safer nutrition recovery. But the country has also invested in wastewater treatment technologies that recover nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, which can be used as fertilizer. Denmark has integrated eco-sanitation practice into agricultural sector using treated human waste as fertilizer safely and sustainable. The country is supporting research innovation, leading to development of new technologies and practices. Switzerland has implemented water reuse projects where treated wastewater is used for agricultural irrigation to reduce the demand for fresh water. The country has also invested in technologies to recover resources from toilets, such as fertilizer from urine. The WUNA project is very well known, including biogas production also from sewage sludge. Austria is promoting eco-sanitation, particularly in rural and alpine regions, to provide sustainable alternatives to conventional sanitation system. And the country has initiatives to recover nutrients from human waste to reduce the need of synthetic fertilizer. Germany has implemented several closed-loop sanitation systems where human waste is treated and the resulting resources are recovered and reused. Germany has policies developed, which I will also present. We're looking at the human fertilizer potential, so humus fertilizer potential. Humus is a dark organic material that forms in soil when plant and animal matter decays, is vital for maintaining healthy and resilient soil. The same is accounting for biochar. Using humus and biochar has numerous benefits for soil health and resilience. They play a significant role in sequestering soil carbon and helping mitigate climate change. And humus and biochar increase the soil capacity to retain water, reducing the need for irrigation and associated energy consumption. Let's look in example projects in Germany. The Kultur Institute. It's a project which is developed and was presented to the public for the first time in October 23, also last month. The first research facility in Eberswald to produce recycled fertilizer from dry toilet contents. And it supports urine and feces treatment to produce fertilizer. And the project, when you look for more information, it's called Zirkulierbar Project. It's funded by the German Ministry of Education and Research. Okay, the press release is this one, yeah. Let's look in the policy and regulation. Supportive policy and regulation are vital in this journey. Governments have a critical role in creating an enabling environment. This includes also policy to incentivize sustainable practice, what we have heard from the ministry, from the German Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Also, the same is important to build a resilient agricultural system. Yeah, and Germany's commitment for the ecological agriculture, I have not to underline. We have heard a lot of this already. Well, go back. Oh. Sorry. Let's look in the German DIN specification 91421. You have seen this is from 2000. No, it's from 2020, not 2002. It's a product specification overview, which gives an overview for fertilizer, epidemiologically harmless fertilizer, and it gives quality standards based on German and European regulations. But it's important to see that this is not yet evolved to a European standard or to an ISO standard. but it gives certain criteria how a fertilizer from sanitation recyclates has to be controlled, checked, and the value has created. Let's look now for the Center of Sustainable Environmental Sanitation. You see some, that's this. Yeah. Not too fast. Some of our impressive photos. The center was created 2008 as a contribution from China to the International Year of Sanitation. And it started with an agreement with the German Society for Sustainable Biogas and Bioenergy Utilization. And since 2011, we are also represented in the German Water Association Working Group Agricultural Reuse, especially in the subgroup Reuse-Oriented Sanitation System. Thank you. And the collaboration, we are collaborating with many international training centers, consultant companies, and industries, especially on sustainable sanitation and bioenergy solutions. We are hosting the China National Environment and Energy International Cooperation Base. We are hosting the Beijing Key Laboratory of Disposal and Resource Recovery of Heavy Industrial Typical Pollutants and Urban Organic Waste. Yeah, and all work is focused on the sustainable sanitation system, which includes agricultural bioenergy use of wastewater and waste. As a conclusion, I can say the transition to a circular economy in agriculture is complex, but it's a rewarding journey. It requires collaboration, innovation, and commitment to sustainable practice. We all can create a more sustainable, resilient, and prosperous future. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope I am in time.
Thank you for your report, Professor Heinz. In his speech, he introduced the importance of circular agriculture, especially in the recycling of manure. The speech has shed a light for the circular ecology development in China as well. Now let's welcome the former president and professor of South China Agricultural University, Mr. Luo Shiming, to give us a report. Dr. Luo Shiming has received a lot of awards from MARA. Now welcome, Professor Luo. Good morning, everyone. I'm still thinking whether I should use Chinese or English. I might speak very fast. Since the Germans and Chinese are about 50-50, so shall I just speak Chinese? Speak English?
When I considering that whether I speak in Chinese or English, and considering that there are almost more than half of you sitting there is from abroad, so I decided to speak in English. My topic is development of agroecology in China. It's a big topic. When I talk agroecology, I have to trace back to 5,000 years ago in the continent of Europe, Asia. You see that the east and west part of the agricultural development situation is quite different. In east is an inland, And in the west, it's facing Mediterranean Sea and very close to the sea. And so also the climate is quite different. We have a monsoon season, and there is a hot in the summer, but no rainfall. But in the winter, cold, but there's a lot of rainfall. So it's a different for agricultural development and also different from the trade. So in China, we pay great attention on agriculture only because we are very, the commercial activity is not important in China, in Asian China. And also sea traveling is almost no in Asian China. Certainly, later we developed one road and belt system. Okay, because of the situation, you can see the population fluctuation in China is quite different from West Europe. The red line is West Europe. It's quite stable, gradually grow, but in China, fluctuate a lot. Why? Because the limitation of the resources, because of the climate change, and the population grow very fast. Because in Chinese society, we encourage each family have as much as possible the next generation. So we have a saying that more kids, more happiness. Okay, so we form a situation that we have to make good use of our resources. Otherwise, we will die. So there's some example of traditional Chinese agriculture for these bi-pond systems, both in the Pearl River Delta and the Yangtze River Delta. They use the high water table, lowland alluvial plain, turn it into a very productive bi-pond system. In this system, you can see the landscape. Very productive. They grow mulberry and fish silkworm, and the silkworm waste go into the fish pond to feed the fish, and the waste from fish pond go back to the dike. So it's a nutrient cycling already. Also in the fish pond, they grow different types of fish in the upper part, middle part, and the lower part, and using different types of resources. Another example is the paddy fields in southern China, Zhejiang province. They grow paddy rice, but at the same time, they grow fish. They have you can see, they protect the forestry, and they have a good resources of water. And also, they grow different types of paddy fish. You can see the genetic diversity is very high. They're using different types of resources in paddy field. So it's a mutual benefit of fish and rice. I'm not going to talk more because of time. In FAO, they begins a project on globally important agricultural heritage system from 2005. Now, totally 65 in the whole world, but 44 in Asia. So you can see why, because it's agriculture not only for a long time, but also very intensive and using resources very cleverly. Okay, since the World War II, we come to learn from the Western countries for industrialization of agriculture. So in our concept, modern agriculture means good variety, chemicalized, mechanized rectification and irrigation. That is all in our mind in early 50s and 60s. What is the result? Fertilizer use a lot, but we pollute our water system. Our pesticide use is quite more than our average in the world. So we kill a lot of biological living organisms in the field. We use a lot of increasing our agricultural machinery, but our greenhouse emission is gradually grow very high. Also, in the total number of total amount of gas emitted from China is not the highest, but in the in average person, but for total number now is the highest. So we're facing a very big challenge. So for this carbon release, in agriculture, we release about 6 to 7% of our carbon. The sources of carbon greenhouse releasing from agriculture, 58% from plantation, 41% from animal production. But now, no matter in planting or animal production, more and more from mechanical use. So for today, almost 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture is from machinery use. Also, we cause a lot of soil erosion, the overgrazing in our grassland, especially in north and northeast. So we cause a lot of sandstorm. And also, some of the industrial development in the metal mining cause a lot of contaminated of agricultural soil. Now, situation cannot be continued. So from the early 1980s, in China, we recognize we have to go another way. So the first part to propose this direction change is from the very intellectual part of the people, like in the university, in the Ministry of Agriculture. They recognize we cannot go this way anymore. So we set up a scientific section of agroecology. We publish a lot of textbooks. We also call a lot of symposium to discuss the agroecology development in China. And also we do some research. For example, under the support of UN University, we do a lot of research on dye pump systems in early 80s. And from this century on, the agroecology development is not only the recognition by professors, by the government leaders, but by the people. Because the food contamination, the bad environment has lead everyone wanted to change. So they no longer can tolerate the situation anymore. So we say we come to another stage called driven by social demand. That's from the century. So many very distinguished Chinese scientists, they systematically summarize the experience of China's agroecology practices. They publish a lot of books, different types, and also on intercropping, on biodiversity use in agriculture, on rice pisciculture, etc. For example, they recognize that for agriculture, we have to pay attention to the resources, to the environment, and the food quality. In order to get this, we have to do landscape design, ecosystem design for circulation and for biodiversity use, and also for the how to reduce the resources and also protect the environment. So there's a lot of models or system designs and also technical package. I just put some examples. In the cropping, it's a traditional Chinese practice, but today we're still developing and using this. Like this in the tea plantation, they intercropped with soybean. The soybean become a pest, trap a lot of pests. So they protect the tea from biting by the insects. It's an amazing practice. You see, the soybean has been attacked by insects, but the tea plant is quite well. So in the tea plantation, you can see birds, you can see spiders. And another one is duck and rice co-culture systems. You can see that it's very good. The third one is the rice fish co-culture still has been expanded today in China, no matter in North China, South China, and East China. And also agro-forestry system also has been developed in China, like this wheat planted underneath the young popular forestry. And also like this one is the wheat intercropping under the Peruvian forestry. So they're harvesting the wheat under the forestry and also grow some vegetables. In Hainan Island, in the tropical area, we plant rubber trees, but we also plant tea underneath. So sometimes we use biodiversity to control pests. For this greenhouse, they grow melon, but they also use another plant in adjacent to them to push away the pest. Sometimes they use trap crops to trap pests. Like this rice field, on the edge, they grow a plant called vetiver grass. They can trap live stem borer. So it's very clever and very, it's a good progress in China. Like these shelter belt systems in the rice field, and also we're using biodiversity to control weed. Like these hairy wedge grow in the field, they can suppress the weed. In the tea plantation, we grow a Chinese medicinal herbs. These medicinal herbs not only can suppress weed, but they can also earn money by farmers. Okay, we also have a lot of technology package to control green gas production from the paddy fields. In this stage, the government has proposed a lot of policy to encourage the development of agroecology, like to retreat the forestry back, retreat the farmland back to forestry, to balance the grass growth and the number of animals on the grassland. How to divide the main functional zones in different parts of our land and control the non-sources pollution, and also about the agroecology farm construction, what's the standard, how to assess them, and so on. And also in 2016, the State Department has announced a eco-compensation opinion. So they will compensate for some of the good actions for protecting ecology and protect environment. In 2017, the State Department also developed issue a opinion about the green development in China. Also in 2021, we began to have a better carbon trade systems in China. Also, agricultural carbon exchange also including in these carbon trade systems. Not only the government, the non-government organization has also been developed quite quickly. For example, the community support agriculture, they developed from 2009, and now it's a big community. they not only in China, but also work with international communities. You can see that in the Sichuan province, at the annual meeting, there's a lot of new farmers. They come and join these activities. And this another one in Guangdong province. There's a lot of people. It's amazing. So it's not only the government, but the people also ready to go this way. For example, I noticed the mentioned that we have already recognized some of the eco farms in China. And because of this action, our chemical fertilizer use has dropped. You can see from 2015, the fertilizer use has dropped down. And also the chemical pesticide has also going down. And also the agricultural carbon emission is also going down now. Although our agricultural total production is still increasing, but you can see the agricultural water usage is quite stable. So the efficiency is going higher and higher. We also have some channels for eco-friendly products go into the market, like green food, organic food, geographical identification food products. You can see the green food production has increased in recent years, as well as organic foods. We also developed village tourism, tourist or eco-tourism in agriculture. Because the good environment, that attracts a lot of city people and town people to go there. So it is going quite quickly in recent years. Okay, what is the future? I think in China, we still have a lot to do. One is the time. When we going agroecology, it needs about 5 to 10 years to change the soil, to set up the balance between harmful insects and natural enemies. But usually, the investment has a very short-term eyes. They need return in 1 or 2, maximum 3 years. So that is the problem. So how to support them to go a little bit further? So it needs a government support or other parts of support of the society. Another one is the scale. Because I want to change my farm. However, my farm is not so big, but others pushing chemicals in the field, they can penetrate to my field, and the pests can go to my field. So you have to very big scale. Otherwise, you cannot do yourselves with agroecology method. That is the scale problem. So how to organize, how to practice. So it's difficult for individual farmers. When you consider, especially in China, we only have a very small, about 1 hectare per family. Okay, another is about the market. Good food not necessarily have a good price, because many consumers just tired about the fake food. They also call organic, but they never have an organic practice, or just put some stamps on it. So the consumers not trust to it. So it's a big problem. And also, one of the big problems is on scientific research. We only have about 10 years. For industrial agriculture, we have to do research for 100 and more years. So we need to put more money on research on agroecology. So I'm quite optimistic that if we put attention to that, 10 or 15 years later, a lot of good practice, good research result will support the development of agroecology. Okay, That's my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Luo Shiming, for your report. Professor Luo introduced the traditional wisdom of China's agroecology development, and his introduction has both a wide range of typical cases in China's development in agroecology. Let's give a warm round of applause to his report. Our next speaker is Dr. Yingmu. Ms. Yingmu now conducts her doctoral research at the German Biomass Research Center in the University of Leipzig. Her work focuses on the economic analysis of biogas and a comparison of business models and policy frameworks between Germany and China. Now let's give the floor to Dr. Yingmu on the value creation of biogas, a comparative analysis of Germany and China.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to come to Bangbu, such a beautiful city, to take part in the 9th Sino-German Agricultural Week. And I'm also very happy to come back home after quite a long time. My name is Yingmu. I am a doctoral researcher in the University of Leipzig in Germany. And I also have 3-year research cooperation of my topic with German Biomass Research Center. Today, I would like to share our first research result, value creation of biogas from agricultural residues in China, comparative analysis between China and Germany. So I would like to briefly introduce the research background, and then we can have a look together of the methodology and research results. And in the last step, I would also like to briefly introduce the biogas development status in Germany. Okay, when we talk about biogas development in China as a large agriculture country, there are some key facts and numbers I would like to share. Firstly, so China is the second economy in the world and the largest carbon emitter. As a large agriculture country, we have large amount of agricultural residues, around 900 million ton straw and 4 billion ton livestock manure every year. And China is also the world's largest meat producer, consumer, and importer, with a goal of carbon peak in 2030 and carbon neutrality in 2060. Biogas engineering could be a key role to realize agriculture carbon neutrality. And Chinese governments invested billions of yuan in these parts. And currently, we have 75,000 large-scale biogas projects and more than 50 bio-natural gas projects. Okay, let's have a look of the energy structure in China. The occupation of renewable energy continues increasing. However, China still largely depends on fossil fuels, especially coal and oil. And in the renewable energy parts, we can see that hydropower, wind power, and solar power are larger than other renewable energies and bioenergy. However, compared with wind and solar, bioenergy has its special and irreplaceable advantage. For example, it is more stable. And also when we consider the stock price, bioenergy is not more expensive compared with wind and solar. So in the whole energy system, it's like a yoker, playing its special role. Biogas also has long history in China, started from 1970s. At first, it's small household biogas projects in rural area for providing cooking energy. And then large and medium-sized biogas projects. Currently, we are in the third stage, large-scale biogas and biomethane projects for comprehensive utilization of renewable energy production. However, when we talk about this stage and when we talk about the industrialization of biogas, China is still faced with some common problems and also opportunities. In general, for example, we have a lot of research and also breakthroughs from Chinese experts in biogas technology part. However, we still don't have enough talk and research on framework conditions like policy supports and the upgrading of price and subsidy system, and also successful business model. For example, we have difficulties in material collection, storage, transportation, and utilization. And all this bring cost pressure to biogas projects and companies. And as we mentioned, we have biogas projects, but still not an effective whole industry chain. And also the subsidy and framework conditions needs to update it. It is like a common question. A lot of biogas projects, they receive some support, financial support, and at the beginning in construction, and then the biogas plants cannot really run, so it's abandoned. And the long-term sustainable operation ability is low. And also for the goal of pollution control has not been achieved. And so for sure, there are shortcomings in successful and sustainable business model of biogas in Chinese market. So what is, based on this background, what is value creation of biogas? So first, what is value creation? It is a common concept in business and economy, the core purpose of economic actions. In general, it means the value something created. And when we combine the concept in economy together with biogas, it means how much value biogas can create when it's used for different purposes, because biogas can replace a lot of other fossil fuels for fossil fuel replacement and value in energy market. And not only this direct value, but also because China is a large agriculture country, and the development of biogas industry is closely related to the living environment, job opportunities, and rural development, which is very meaningful, not only economic value, but also social value. Now we could have a brief look of the methodology of the research. So first, based on the statistic data in China and different index in 6 agriculture regions in China, we calculate the potential of straw and manure, and then the technical available potential of straw and manure. And based on this, how much biomethane can be produced from these available agriculture residues. And then based on the energy content between biomethane and other fossil fuels like coal, LPG, or for vehicular use, gasoline and diesel, we calculate all these biomethane can replace how much fossil fuel in different utilization. And then based on the market price and also the subsidy in China, we calculate the value creation and the unit value creation of biogas as energy carrier in different utilization. Here we have a look of the biogas electricity price and subsidy system in China. It consists of 2 parts from provincial defuelization electricity price plus subsidy. And the first part is provincially different. And the second part, the subsidy, is set nationally around 25 cents RMB per kilowatt hour. And 2 places are special, Hebei and Zhejiang. Besides these 2 parts, they also have a special local bonus. So their price are higher than these 2 parts in total. And when we choose the market price of other fossil fuels, based on the statistic data every month, we have 3 times the market price of fossil fuels, but we find that before the prices of fossil fuels are somehow relatively stable, but in 2020, 21, and 22, because of pandemic, these prices are largely increased and not stable. In order to make the research more objective, so we choose the market price before pandemic in 2018 and 2019 as a reference price for our value creation calculation. Okay, here is the result. We can see the unit value creation. It means 1 cubic meter machine, 1 cubic meter biomachine can create how much value in different utilization when it replaces other fossil fuels. We calculate the unit value creation of biogas electricity only with a basic price, and then the biogas electricity with subsidy. Also heat supply, and then to replace natural gas, replace LPG, and also used as vehicular use to replace gasoline and diesel. From our results, we can see that in vehicular use, it creates the highest unit value, especially gasoline, and then followed by replace natural gas and then LPG replacement. Now, the most common use biogas electricity creates relatively low unit value creation, and for heat supply part is the lowest. And also we find that higher provincial bonus promotes higher value creation. And another important meaning of the value creation of biogas is the work opportunity for both well-educated and less educated people locally or in rural area, which is very important related to the important topic, rural revitalization in China. And after shared our research report, I would like to basically introduce the biogas development status in Germany. We can see that from 1990 to 2020, the renewable energy use in electricity, heat supply, and transport is continuous increasing. And especially heat and transport sectors predominantly provided by biogas. And biogas and biomethane, they are also primarily used in the CHP sector, and in total 10 billion cubic meter biogas production. And also now is more and more biogas plants in Germany, the in biomethane part is increasing. And there are in total 9,000 biogas plants, including the shutdowns in Germany. And among them, there are 230 upgrading to biomethane. And the total installed electrical capacity is 6.9 gigawatts, and the heat supply is 16.7 gigawatts. And bioenergy also plays its role in energy transition in Germany in different sectors. For example, in electricity, focus on the flexible electricity market. And also there are a lot of researchers in Germany now, they are also very interested in the flexible electricity market in China. And also in heat parts, they create higher value. For transport part, bio-based fuels provide greenhouse gas reduction. And another important difference is now is before in China, all our substitute resources are from agricultural residues or other residues, as our other experts in China have introduced this morning. Based on the large population, actually the resources and especially arable land resources in China is limited per person. So in China, we have a policy like no competition with food for land. It's a red line. So it's a big difference. Germany, before, they use a lot of energy crops as the substrate to biogas production, and now also focus more on agriculture residues and waste. So thank you very much for your attention. And also based on this phase research results, I really look forward to more communication and talk with different stakeholders from academia, government, and also industry about the successful and sustainable business model of biogas in Chinese market. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report, Dr. Tang. In her speech, he introduces the challenges of biogas development in China and also shared the production situation of biogas in Germany and China. Your report is indeed inspiring, so thank you very much. So the first part of this session has come to an end. Now we will have a tea break of 10 minutes. The second part will start at 10:25. Thank you.
Wir kennen so Tana, sie, wenn ich jetzt schon bin. Danke. I'm just testing the equipment. Ich mache gerade einen Test. Okay. Und wie funktioniert das? Das ist so
das ist die
vorwärts.
Ja.
Okay.
Genau. Und dann muss man aber, es verzögert etwas. Das heißt, wenn man einmal draufdrückt, muss man eigentlich warten. Ich
Okay.
habe dann zu schnell gedrückt,
Ja,
weil es nicht
okay.
gegangen ist.
Und
Und dann muss man wieder zurückgehen.
okay. Und sieht man hier auch die Notizen von der Präsentation oder nur die Slides?
Nur die Slides.
Okay.
Deswegen habe ich meinen PC nicht genommen, weil ich unten die Unterleite
Ja.
konnte man nicht sehen. Und dann habe ich ihn
Überleg mir auch.
noch hingestellt, damit ich sehe, was unten drunter ist. Also empfiehlt sich, weil ich konnte es nicht ausdrucken, weil sie ja keinen Drucker haben.
Ja. Danke.
Ja.
换几个啊？换几个啊？对啊，别干了。他先报一个，这个还好。
各位老师，咱们接着开会。
Let's get started, shall we? Since you have been discussing in a very favorable and good atmosphere, so we just prolonged the tea break. Our next speaker is Professor Qiao Yuhui, who is primarily studying agro-ecology. He is a member of the Pollution-Free Product Review Committee from 2009. And the title of her report is Assessing the Benefits of Integrated Ecological Farms based on cases in China. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your invitation to attend the dialogue today. I've listened to the reports of previous speakers, and I really learned a lot from them. Today, I will briefly introduce our study on the assessment of the benefits of integrated ecological farms. And the study is primarily based on cases in China. First, I will start with the context. As you may know, the Earth is facing a lot of risks and threats. As shown on this PowerPoint slide, freshwater resource biodiversity and are being undermined due to the climate change and the change of use of land. A lot of nitrogen and phosphorus have gone into the environment, and the risks are very high. The primary reason is just agricultural production. So how to solve the problems emerged in agriculture? Actually, from 2016, the Sustainable Food Expert Panel once released a report. According to the report, industrial agriculture and subsistence agriculture should transform to diversified agro-ecological farming. Agriculture is not only the cause of problems, but also the solutions, while ecological farms are an important approach to solve the problems. And ecological agriculture is also closely related with the SDGs of the UN. As you can see, according to an FAO report, 30 countries around the world have launched 119 policies to promote ecological agriculture. And from the speeches of previous speakers, you may also learn that NARA has launched a series of guidelines and policies. Ecological farms have been promoted ever since 2020, led by market entities. In 2021, in the guideline issued by NARA in 2020, it is pointed out that 1,000 nation-level ecological farms will be built by 2025 and build 10,000 ecological farms on provincial levels. At present, we have already 431 ecological farms in China. And this year, around 300 farms will be identified as well. As I've said, agriculture and ecological farms are ecological farms represents the development trend of agriculture. But what standards should be followed? And what are the true benefits of such farms? In this regard, we still lack of systematic research and assessment. But such assessment can better support the policymaking of the government. As you may know, guided by our ecological goals, ecological farms should be an important part as well. So ecological farming is vital in this regard as well. That is why we need to assess the benefits and results of ecological farms. That also explains why we started our research. As you can see, on research objects, we primarily chose farms that combine crop and animal production. Because such a combination is a very typical model in ecological farming. The integrated production of crop and animal represents the major trend of ecological farms. Therefore, we chose many farms across China as our cases. At first, we chose 14 farms, including 10 farms that combine crop and animal production. The farms range from the north to the south of China. Also, we cooperated with agricultural research institutes. We visited the farms and analyzed the data of the farms. In our analysis, we primarily focused on the results of carbon sequestration as well as the revenues of the farms. In carbon dioxide emission reduction, the systematic boundary is critical. First of all, we focused a scale that starts from agricultural input to the market of agricultural products. The carbon dioxide emission throughout the whole process has been collected. So we adopted multiple methods such as the IPCC and CCER. And unified and standardized data collection methods are very critical. We focused on carbon emissions and carbon sequestration, including the data of resource and manure treatment. Now let's move on to the results of the study. First, as you can see, the data in the chart are the characteristics and models of the selected farms. In farms in the Heilongjiang province, Beijing, Anhui, Shanghai, Guangxi, and Hainan, the models are primarily a model that combines crop and animal. The major agricultural products include wheat, corn, and rice, while fruits include pineapples. When assessing the revenue of the farms, we should select similar farms to highlight their differences. So the selection of the farms is actually challenging because we need to find farms that use similar models to make the comparison. So as demonstrated by the chart, similar farms are labeled with the same color, while only the farm in Beijing combines cattle raising and crop production, while all the rest farms are just farms combining crop and animal production. It helps us better identify the differences between ecological and unecological farms. And also, we can tell from the chart that the diversity of agricultural products and farms is very high. Meanwhile, we also compare the farms in terms of organizational models. There are mainly three types, namely cooperatives, companies, and house family farms. Farms in the control group are primarily organized as cooperatives and family farms, while ecological farms are primarily companies. So ecological farms are better organized. And also we compare the industrial chains of different farms. On a scale from 1 to 10, ecological farms get a point of 8.33, while the point of the control group is only 4.67. So ecological farms are better industrialized as well. We also focused on the practices and models for integrated farms. On the left, we listed all the measures adopted by integrated farms. So, in integrated farms, more ecological measures are adopted. Many technologies are used, such as the technologies to reduce the use of pesticides and to conserve water resources. Meanwhile, more green manure is planted in ecological farms as well. Ecological models. Since we primarily selected integrated farms, so this is also the major model in our research. On top of that, there are also the pig biogas and fruit models, etc. And also, a farm in Jiangsu province also adopts a measure that combines production, animal raising, and food processing. The straws can be processed to feed a kind of sheep, and then the manure of the sheep can be treated and made into fertilizers. So the feeds, fertilizers, and crop products can all be processed, so their values will be increased, thus increasing the revenue of the farm. We visited the farm multiple times and did detailed research on it as well. The objective of the farm is that it can meet its own needs of feeds and fertilizers through crop production, thus forming circular agriculture. So in our research, we also looked into the feed sufficiency rate of ecological farms and the control group. For ecological farms, the sufficiency rate is 38%, but in the control group, only 5% of their feeds come from itself. As for fertilizers, ecological farms can produce about 65% of fertilizers that it needs, while for the control group, the figure only stands at 15%. So as you can see, the differences in resource usage efficiency are very large. Meanwhile, food security is also our major focus. So we also looked into the crop yields of different types of farms. 2 farms in Anhui province have been studied for multiple years. One of the farms produces wheat, and the increase of output increased by 14%, while the farm on the right mainly produces kiwi fruit, and the kiwi fruit yields also increased. We also looked into other farms and the growth of their crop yields. In general, the output of ecological farms can be 18% higher than the control group. There is only one exception where the output of ecological farms is 13% lower than the control group. Another focus of our research is the carbon sequestration capability. It took us more than 2 years to collect data. But we were only able to collect data from 3 farms for multiple years. So, as you can see, the carbon sequestration amount of ecological farms is also higher than regular farms. While in the chart on the right, the green part represents ecological farms, while the yellow ones represent regular farms. And the per unit area carbon sequestration of ecological farms is way higher than regular farms. On carbon dioxide emission reduction, the data here show the reduction of crop fuels. They include both agricultural input and agricultural yields. Therefore, in the research, we compared the per acreage carbon dioxide emission. According to the results, carbon dioxide emissions generated by the use of fertilizers is dominant in the whole production process. But ecological farms can reduce the CO2 emissions by 28%, way higher than regular farms. As shown by the chart on the right, only one single ecological farm reduces less CO2 emissions than regular farms. Meanwhile, we also studied the per unit animal product greenhouse gas emissions in the breeding systems. As presented by the chart on the right, the pig farms in Guangxi province reduce more CO2 emissions than other provinces. The major emissions are caused by animal manure. For ecological farms, the emission accounts for 49%, but in the control group, the figure stands at 42%. In ecological farms, people put more focus to science-based approach to treat the manure. And what about the total carbon dioxide emission capability of ecological farms? It is very difficult to look at the results of food and crop and animal production at the same time. So we mainly focused on 9 ecological farms. Their per unit CO2 emission reduction can be reduced by 64.1%, while the highest figure appears in Beijing at 94.4%. As for the potential of CO2 emission reduction, farms in Anhui province has the largest potential. Since integrated farming can form a circulation of resources, so the efficiency of resource use can be increased. So the use of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus can be reduced by 10 to 20%. And also the input of agricultural materials like diesel, pesticide, and agricultural plastics will be cut as well. For the social and economic benefits of integrated ecological farms, all the ecological farms we studied have more incomes. Though in the livestock sector, the breeding scale varies, but most of the farms can have a revenue more than 100 million RMB. So as you can see, we have drawn conclusions that integrated ecological farms are better organized and highly industrialized. They can help reduce the use of agricultural input and increase crop yields. Meanwhile, they have greater potential to reduce CO2 emission. And also in crop use, they can reduce CO2 emissions by 30%. About 2/3 of integrated farms can recycle and reuse 40% of nitrogen and 30% of phosphorus. On top of that, the revenue of ecological farms can be increased as well. So the conclusions of our research can provide more statistical support for ecological farms to prove that the environmental, social, and economic benefits of ecological farms are all higher than regular farms. And going forward, we will continue to look into this area. That's all for my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Qiao Yuhui, for your comprehensive introduction of the eco-farm combining crop and animal farming. Eco-farm development is a focus for China to advance ecological development. If any German experts are interested in the development of eco-farms in China, I think you may just refer to these experts in China in this regard, in this field. Our next speaker is Ms. Deise Aline. She is a postdoctoral researcher at GLU Gießen with a focus on food and animal sciences. So let's give the floor to Ms. Researcher Deise Aline.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for this warm introduction. And it's a pleasure to me to be here today and talk to you about the eco-functional intensification and circularity through organic soil crop livestock systems and the case study of the Gladbacher Hof. The Gladbacher Hof is the research farm from the University of Gießen. We are located in the central area of Germany, kind of close to Frankfurt. And why should we go for integrated crop livestock systems? We have observed in the last years an increase on the productive yields from agriculture, especially for wheat and for milk production. And we see this increase, it's about 300%. But all this intensification, this comes with also higher external costs, especially because of the external inputs and also the climate impact. Some calculations estimate the turnover from the German agriculture be of 21 billion euros, and the costs for this intensification, they are higher than 90 billions of euros. And that's why some pioneers, they started about 50, 60 years ago to develop another model, an organic farm model. And in this farm, we have the circularity of the nutrients in the system. And it is well known that the increasing adoption of organic principles in conventional agriculture has the potential to make this agriculture greener and greener, and to increase the global sustainability of agriculture. So my presentation will be divided into 4 chapters. At first, I want to talk about a success story of organic farming. After, I'm going to talk about why standard organic farming is not enough anymore. We have to do more. And the 3rd chapter will be about the eco-functional intensification and circularity through improved organic cropping systems. And the 4th chapter of my presentation will be the potential of integrated animal-plant agricultural systems. About the success story, I want to present you the Gladbacher Hof, the research farm from the University of Gießen. The Gladbacher Hof is managed organically for more than 35 years now, using a mixed system. It means we have a crop production and we also have the livestock production. The Gladbacher Hof has about 110 hectares of arable land and 77 hectares of permanent grassland. We have in this farm an 8-year crop rotation, and we have the maize production. And in this crop rotation, we also have 2 years of alfalfa production. And the operation focus areas of Gladbacher Hof, they are the dairy cattle production. Currently, we have about 100 dairy cows with an average production of 8,500 kilograms of milk. And the breeding goal is the lifetime performance. We also have seed and plant material production, some line hens, some chickens, and our approach is also direct sale to consumers. And an overview of organic agriculture, we have seen some numbers in the last days during the presentation from other colleagues. But I want to highlight that in Europe, we have 70.8 millions of hectares of organic agriculture. And global-wide, the organic agriculture represents 1.6% of farmed land, which shows that it has an increase, potential of increase, a huge potential. And also the EU target is of 25% of organic area by 2030. Germany, we have about 10% of organic agriculture so far. And the target for Germany is even higher. Our goal is to reach 30% of organic agriculture by 2030, which is quite challenging. We see in this graphic of the last years increase on organic farming production that we have a linear growth, and we will be something around 7%, or we will have 70% of organic agriculture by 2030. And with this, I want to start my second chapter and talk about why standard organic farming with recycling nutrients into the cycle is not enough anymore. We have a lot of scientific evidence of what organic farms means in terms of soil health, biodiversity, climate change, and all the positive aspects of organic farming. And for example, this study from Lori et al., she made a meta-analysis from organic farming studies, and she showed that, for example, organic farming has an enhanced microbial biomasses in terms of carbon and nitrogen in comparison to conventional farms. And some other positive aspects of organic farming, in short, are enhancing soil life, enhancing carbon stocks, less area scales or equal lower yield scales greenhouse gas emissions, higher biodiversity, equal animal welfare in terms of animal health, animal behavior, and also animal emotions, equal food quality in terms of nutritional content, but with lower abundance of unwanted residues. But we have to live with the shadow of the lower yields of the organic agriculture, which globally represents something about from 9 to 25%. And in Germany, this gap is even higher due to the intensification of conventional agriculture. We have a gap from 20 to 43% of yields in organic agriculture. And with this picture, I want to show you that we have to think in a systematic approach, not only based on the yield. And with the systematic approach of the organic farming, we can close the gap in the yields, in the productivity of the system, the entire system. And I want to show you here some examples of how can we improve resilience of the system. We see here 2 pictures of a long-term research site. This is called Doc Trial in Switzerland. And on the right side, you see the soil from organic farming with higher structure and higher diversity. And on your left side, you see the soil structure from a conventional system, from the conventional system. And here we see the kind of a silt formation. And this is important because when it comes to events like heavy rains, which are happening when we have more than 20 millimeters of rain per hour, we see that this difference on the soil structure has a big impact on the water retention capacity and the water uptake capacity. Here again, the same study site, and we see on the right side the organic, the biodynamic soil, and on the left side, we see this difference in comparison to an organic or a conventional farm system. But even in an organic, well-managed farm system, when it came to extreme rainfall events, which are happening more and more often nowadays because of the climate change, and with an extreme rainfall event, I want to show you these pictures of what happened at Gladbacher Hof, at our research farm, in the year of 2018, when we had in 1 hour 110 millimeters of water. And despite of 35 years of organic farming at Gladbacher Hof, this heavy rain, this extreme rainfall washed away all our fertile soil, our well-managed soil with more than 35 years, and the soil is the base for the production. And we see that this huge impact or these huge losses caused from these events. And that's why we have to think how we can improve the resilience of our systems, even in our organic systems. And so I came to the third chapter of my presentation today, which is the eco-functional intensification and circularity through improved organic cropping systems. And it's known that we have to make a target use of natural process and ecosystem services for improve the resilience of the systems. And one way to improve the resilience of the systems is the adoption of the agroforestry systems. In these pictures, you can see the results of a study comparing a cropland and a grassland system with the integration of the agroforestry or without the integration of the agroforestry. And we see that both for cropland and for grassland, the adoption of the agroforestry can improve the carbon sequestration, biodiversity, and also the water retention capacity of the soil. And that's why we also implemented at our research farm at the Gladbacher Hof 3 agroforestry systems. We are located in a hilly area in central Germany. That's why the implementation of these agroforestry systems was so important, with the primary aim to reduce the erosion of the soil, especially after a heavy raining event. And the other objective of this agroforestry implementation at Gladbacher Hof were also to use the three lines that we have implemented or integrated to the system to produce something like apple, to produce apple juice, and also other trees to produce wood. If you see the GH2 representation on the bottom of the picture, this is our agroforestry integration with the grassland area. And this has the primary objective also to provide shadow for the livestock, shadow for our dairy cows, and so to improve the animal welfare of the animals. And here I have the pictures of our agroforestry systems. On the left side, you see the agroforestry integration with the grassland areas. And on the right side, you see the agroforestry integration with the cropland areas. Both systems, they are very young. They were implemented 2 and 3 years ago. So we still have we are still doing a lot of research with it. We are learning from it. And this system has gained a lot of attention. In Germany, we have a lot of people coming around, coming to see what we are doing there and to learn from it. We have farmers, scientists, everybody is, or a lot of people are interested in this integration, in this circularity of the system. And, but we have also other ways to improve the resilience of the system. And one approach we are using also is the mulch vegetable production. Why this is an important task for us? Because in Hessen, the area where we are located, we don't have enough water to irrigate our vegetable production. And so we are just 2% self-sufficient for vegetable production. And with a system based on mulch farming, which is the use of a biomass to cover the soil, and then after this plant the vegetables, we can reduce the water evaporation. And the results, or the first results of our studies, also show that we have lower greenhouse gases emissions in this kind of system. So this is also another alternative to improve the resilience of the systems and to integrate it, this kind of cultivation to the regular crop rotation of the farm. Another aspect that we have to think about is how can we close the yield efficiency gaps according to the best ecological agronomic practice. And what we know is that we are not exploring totally the soil potential. We have still a lot to study and to learn about how we can improve all the interactions that happen at soil level with fungal, rhizomes, and microbiome. And in this way, we can potentialize our soil use and kind of close the yield gap. And finally, I came to the first chapter of my presentation, which is the potential of integrated animal plant agricultural systems. And with this picture, I want to show you a standard model for a mixed crop farm system, where we see the circularity of the nutrients in the cycle. We have on the right part of the picture the livestock production with the manure production, and this manure is used for fertilize the crop areas and also the grassland areas, which are used to produce food for the animals and for the humans. And so we have a circularity and a closed cycle of nutrients. But what we observed, especially in Germany, is that we have a high concentration of livestock production in some areas. And here you can see the graphic of Germany, the red part of the country. We have a higher concentration of animals, of livestock, and this leads to some problems, like a lot of food importation from other countries, and also nitrogen surplus. And to improve this, it is necessary to reduce the animal numbers, especially in these areas, and so we can close the cycle and combine it with the other areas from Germany where we have a higher cropland production with low animal participation. And why this is so important to have this integration from crop livestock systems. I brought you here the results, or some results from a long-term research we have at Gladbacher, where we have a system representing mixed farms with the presence of animals, and we see the black line that the only way to increase the carbon stocks in the soil is when we have the animals participating in the systems. Even in organic farming, when we also have the integration of legumes to produce nitrogen. And also we have to improve the potential, or we have to use more the potential of the legumes and the manure to increase the nutrients cycling in our systems. For example, the global potential of the legumes is to produce about 140 million tons of nitrogen. And we also have to improve the potential of, or to use better the potential of the manure, with globally represents potential to use 160 million tons of nitrogen. And I just want to show you this graph, because this represents the potential of the grassland production or milk production to have lower or equal carbon footprint as a conventional system or a conventional milk production system. And why I brought you this information? Because currently we have at Gladbacher at our research farm, a project going on. This project is called Green Dairy. And in this project, we have the integrated organic crop livestock systems. In this project, we divided our Holstein herd in two groups. One group is fed with a diet to achieve 9,200 kilograms of milk. And the other group, the low input group, is fed to achieve 7,200 liters of milk. The main difference between the feeding of these two groups is the use of corn silage for the high input cows and higher amounts of concentrate. And for the low input cows, we have the diet is a grassland-based diet without the use of corn silage. And the reason behind is that we don't want that the production of food for the animals in the low input system compete with the production of food for humans. And we can see this on the representation of our crop rotation. Here we see our 8 years crop rotation for Gladbacher. We also made some changes for the high and for the low input. And if you see at the line number 4 or at the 4th year of this crop rotation, for the high input cows, we have the presence of use maize silage. And for the low input cows, we produce then potatoes instead of maize. So we produce the potatoes to produce food for humans. And other aspects of this project are that we also have 2 separate slurry tanks. So we also evaluate all the emissions potential from animal, from the slurry, from the soil after the application of the soil, the slurry on the soil. So we have the evaluations on the entire cycle of the system. And to replicate what we are doing at the Gladbacher with the Green Dairy project, we are also participating in another project. This project is called Clean Farms. And for Clean Farms, the Gladbacher serves as a living lab, as called Organic Dairy Germany. And Gladbacher is a demonstration farm there. And we also have 10 lead commercial farms that participate into this project. These lead commercial farms also, we have 5 high input farms and 5 low input farms. And the idea is that we can show what we are doing in terms of greenhouse gas mitigation or reduction in organic farming. And this approach, in this way, we can show our results, or we can collaborate and exchange information with the entire network of the dairy industry that participate with us in this project. And I came to end to my presentation from today with some pictures from the Gladbacher. And I want to show you, especially on the left bottom, you see our oldest cow in the barn. Her name is Inge, and she represents our breeding goal with lifetime performance. Inge is already 15 years old and produced 122,000 kilograms of milk. And Inge is one of the top 5 Holstein cows in Germany in terms of organic farming. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Professor, for your detailed report. We have learned that we need to improve the systems of ecological farms and further explore the potential of such farms. Now let's welcome the very last speaker this morning, Professor Katharina Riehn from DLG. He has almost 20 years of experience in interface positions of food and agriculture. And the topic of her report today is how much meat can we eat from a sustainable perspective.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you from my side for having me here and giving me the opportunity to have this speech today. We learned in the past few days that the way we produce food is undermining the potential to feed ourselves in the future. Many of the critical challenges in the world is facing are affecting the food production, including climate change, water shortage, deforestation, forced labor, and also corruption. Today, the world needs to treat food security and affordability as critical issues for global prosperity and well-being. Just as agriculture was a key building in the, or like a key building block in the post-Second World War area of reconstruction, our food economy needs to be rebuilt again. This time it should be done sustainably. And the question arises whether especially sustainable meat consumption is possible. And we heard also in the last days that the total volume and proportion of meat in the world diet has grown dramatically. The quantity produced has grown threefold in the last 50 years, and the per capita consumption has almost doubled since 1961, from 23 kilos per person to 43 kilos per person. This growth, and you know that, is strongly correlated to rising incomes. For example, when you look at Ethiopia, the per capita meat consumption is just over 5 kilograms, while in the US, it is 124 kilograms per person. And this shows that it is really, really strongly correlated with the income. But on the other side, there is a trend to eat less meat, especially in the younger generations. And we can see that in Germany in the last 20 years, or since 1991, the per capita meat consumption has reduced by 14 kilograms. And this is quite a lot. And this trend, I would say, is especially driven by a younger generation that is like really, really into that issue of the impact of meat consumption also for the world climate. As you can see on this slide, is that the food industry environmental profile is a vulnerability and can be easily quantified. You see here that food production accounts for around 2/3 of all global freshwater use, 3/4 of its nutrient pollution, the also so-called eutrophication, as well as 1/4 of all carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions. Yet, this vulnerability should become a platform for the transformation, because what can be measured can also be changed. And all these apocalyptic predictions you may be heard, they rarely come true. Luckily that. But a total revolutionary change rarely happens. Yet the need for a far-reaching change in food production and food consumption is a matter of fact, but also calculation. All participants in the industry will feel these effects of change It is likely to be incremental, but incremental change can have powerful effects. In a world where greenhouse gas emissions are rapidly becoming recognized as one of the major challenges of our time and subject to increasingly strict regulation and consumer attention, the incentive for producers and distributors to adopt different practices and production models is certain to grow. But what should be done and how much difference will it actually make in the end of the day? And you can see here that this historic shift in the world's diets towards more meat consumption, as I described earlier, has been a slow-moving trend. One recently spreading in emerging and frontier markets. Similarly, the current shift in developed economies away from meat towards a more diversified plant-based diet is also a slow change. But it is a change with the potential for far-reaching impacts. Simple food substitutions, for instance, substituting meats with a high environmental footprint with lower impact alternatives, can alter environmental outcomes very significantly. For example, if the world just would substitute, you can see that here really easily, beef with chicken, meat-related CO2 emissions would fall by roughly half, while water usage would be cut by around 30%. A more comprehensive shift of diet would have an even greater impact. A wholesale shift to vegan diets, for example, could cut more than half the food-related emissions per person in a wealthy country, such as, for example, the United States. And even really modest dietary shifts, such as removing beef from the diet, would have almost as great an impact. And I always feel that this is something that really should change our minds on that behalf. It is little steps we need to make a change. Looking at this graph from Ritchie, it is from 2019, illustrates that the Earth's surface is 71% ocean and 29% landmass. Of the habitable landmass, 50% is arable, and more than 3/4 of the arable land is used for livestock. All through, as you can see here, the meat and dairy products account for a relatively small share of the world's protein supply and also the caloric supply. Although only 23% of arable land is used to grow crops for human consumption, it accounts for 82% of global calorie consumption and 63% of protein supply. So from the last two slides, we have to ask ourselves, is animal husbandry still a model for the future, or is this the model for the future? Is it vegan farming? And should we cut our animals, or like our animal husbandry, shall we cut it down entirely? And I think if we take a little bit of the closer look, the FAO stated in 2022 that indeed livestock provide only 34% of the world's total protein intake. They also pointed out that 86% of the world's livestock feed intakes consists of resources that are inedible to humans. So we have a classical case of an upcycling economy here when we look at our life. And it is like this, and there is a very nice publication of Windage from 2021 on that behalf, that if inedible biomass is taken into account, what is often not done when comparing the carbon footprint of different types of protein sources, the environmental impact of livestock production is completely different. The avoidance of food competition clearly puts ruminants, for example, dairy cows, because they produce both milk and meat, in the foreground because they can transform the already available non-eatable biomass into high quality food in a largely emission and climate neutral way if fed correctly. So we have to have a very, very, very distinct look how we keep our animals and especially also how we feed them if we want to make correct calculations. And that means also that seemingly, particularly environmental friendly livestock, such as fattening poultry, on the other hand, are dependent on high quality feed. You can't feed chicken on grass or something like that. It is just not possible. So the balance, or like the total outcome, if you calculate everything out, may change if you take this into account. And these high quality feed have to be grown on arable land and would largely also be eatable by humans. So we have this typical competition, food, feed, and of course, fuel comes also in that, but we stay here with the food and the feed dimension. And limiting livestock feed to non-eatable biomass and refraining from excessive cultivation of feed on arable land should automatically be accompanied by a reduction in the number of animals. We heard that before. This reported about this on the model farm near Gießen, how this can make also an income. In contrast to a blanket cap of livestock numbers, limiting livestock to non-eatable biomass would promote agricultural innovation and the efficiency of transforming available feed into high quality food. And the reintegration of crop production and animal husbandry offers the opportunity to reduce emissions, increase overall resource efficiency, reduce external inputs such as pesticides, mineral fertilizers, or feed imports, strengthen resilience, and increase the biodiversity. Crop production and animal husbandry can also be integrated across farms. We heard a really, really nice example for that before. And the use of locally produced feed instead of imports and farm manure instead of, for example, mineral nitrogen fertilizer should contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and the ability of farm animals to utilize plant biomass of various types can lead to diversification in crop production. This diversity can be an effective means of preventing plant diseases, for example, and improving soil fertility in the long term. The German Farmers Association stated in 2021 that grassland makes an important contribution to the domestic protein supply of ruminants and horses, and thus reduces the need for protein imports. And for example, 1 hectare of high-yielding grassland in a favorable location in Germany could potentially replace 2 hectares of soybean in soybean growing regions in North and South America. And under local conditions, 1 hectare of high-yielding grassland is the protein equivalent of 2.6 hectares of rapeseed or 2.1 hectares of wheat. And in addition to the soil status survey, the preservation of permanent grassland is an important contribution to climate protection, especially on high humus-rich sites, since permanent grassland soils have even greater stocks of organic carbon than forest soils. But we have also to look, when we talk about ruminants, how we can reduce the methane emissions. I think this is one of the biggest challenges. And there is a study from McKinsey that indicates that, for example, the methane emissions from livestock can be reduced about 30% by 2050 compared to 2017, with 3 different options. The use of additives, for example, in feed of cattle, for example, feeding kelp or propionic acid and precursors that can significantly reduce methane emissions. The second key is like breeding, and the third is adjusting feed. You already heard about that. So there are options also for beef consumption, and I think it is how shall I say, it is on us to continue with that, and creating a sustainable agriculture in a food sector requires, and we've heard that so many times in the last days, but I can just stress it out, it requires a holistic and coordinated approach that takes into account environmental, social, and economic aspects. And we need really to integrate the whole food chain. I always miss that really the whole value chain is looked at, because often it's just small sectors we are looking at, our sectors we are experts in, and this interdisciplinary approach that is needed for an holistic approach is sometimes, in my opinion, a little bit missing. And I think for the players in the agricultural and food industry, this means also that their activities with regard to sustainable action and social responsibility were to be put to the test more than ever, also by consumers. And I think this is also then a really important fact and a driver for this change, because consumers will measure companies in the future more and more on terms of sustainability. And the methods we use for measuring and accounting sustainability need to be refined and further developed. I think this is also something, this is not so easy to do, that we have to look what we want to measure and with which methods we can do that. And sustainable consumption must be promoted. And there is really no but I think you have to encourage people to do the right choices. And it is not so, how shall I say, it does not need to be so strict all the time. If people reduce their consumption of meat step by step, it can be also a really good approach and a really good driver for a more sustainable future. And also technological innovations and precision agriculture must be promoted and harnessed in the future. Because our animal foods are a valuable source of nutrition, and I can always, I would like to share my vision for the future with you. In my vision, it should be like that in the future, that plant-based products are the standard for our nutrition, and animal products should be the premium products. I think this would give them the role that they should have in general, that because they are high nutritionist products and they should be really treated as the premium product. And I think if we do like this and have this approach, maybe the approach our grandparents had, then we are going a really good step forward. And this was that. I hope I stayed in time. I would like to thank you for your attention. And I'm really curious about your questions, and I'm happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Katharina, Riehn, for your input. Professor introduces her thinkings on meat consumption and her thinking on vegetarian agricultural development. Our next session is the panel discussion. Let's welcome the 6 panelists to come to the stage. Please take your seat. As it is about 12 o'clock, and we will have an afternoon session as well, so I will raise one question. Let's give the floor to Mr. Heinz-Peter Wang. What you have shared with us in terms of eco-agriculture, I wonder, in this context of climate change, what are the challenges that Germans face and the solutions in this regard?
Yeah, thank you for this good question, because we have heard from the past presentation that Germany has developed several plans to promote resilient agriculture. So the reason we know, we have discussed it. The question is now how to go from a point to the area. That means how to spread it. And I think what you have asked, our agriculture should be, and we have underlined this now in the last presentations, more convincing for the consumer. And we have to consider recycling of organic, and we have to consider all those sources which are not yet used as I presented.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Just the professor said, it is important that our consumers are convinced. Thank you for your input. I have a second question for Professor Luo. Professor Luo, in his presentation, introduced the background and philosophies of China's eco-agricultural development. As we may know, agroecology is it is important that we achieve coordinated development of agroecology and food safety and security.
Agroecology and conventional agriculture, I think, in terms of productivity, usually the people have an idea that agroecology would be 10%, 20% lower productivity or something like that. But actually, there's a lot of example that not only agroecology have the equal productivity with conventional agriculture, but sometimes even higher. But there are some preconditions. One, it needs times. It needs about 5 to 10 years to nurse the soil, let it become more fertile, and also balance the insect, harmful insect and the beneficial insect, or the biodiversity, balance them. So it needs times. The second one is that there's a lot of skill. You have to coordinate different types of activities together, like rice, fish culture. It's more complicated technology than just grow rice or just grow fish. So if you can have more patience to wait for more years to come, and also you have a more skill to pack them together as a system, then you will get much better productivity. So I'm quite optimistic that when times go on, the agroecology practices can also secure supply. On the other hand, if you just only using so-called high industrial input for high productivity, you will sooner or later, because the destroy of soil and environment, the total production will go down. That's my answer. Thank you very much.
好的，谢谢骆老师啊，就是刚才骆老师
Thank you, Professor Luo. Just now, Professor Luo said that the production is relatively lower in agroecology compared with traditional agriculture. And Professor Luo also mentioned about the significance of soil fertility. And China is also on the way to explore more approaches and pathways to develop agroecology in China. Our next question is for Professor Chang. My question is, what are the challenges and future directions for biogas development in Germany?
好，感谢您的问题。
Thank you for the question. When we talk about biogas development in Germany, there is no doubt that it is quite advanced in Germany in terms of biogas development. It is important to see that there are mature systems developed in biogas growth in the country. For example, they have concrete and targeted policies to support the growth of biogas. When we talk about energy transition, biogas, despite a small portion, is also a priority, an evolving priority for the German side. At the national and the regional level, collaborations in biogas development are progressing. It is true that there are challenges. The challenge here is that we should proceed biogas development in a safer manner. Thank you for your introduction. As biogas development in Germany is equipped with sound mechanisms and commercial models, the important thing is safety and security. This is the top priority. Thank you, Professor Chang. Our next question is for Professor Qiao. Professor Qiao introduced multiple cases in eco-farms development in China. There are 413 eco-farms in China right now. As population aging is a common threat in China's rural areas, I wonder whether it has to be of large scale that the eco-farms can actually produce profits. Thank you for the question. In 2016, we paid field trips to around 500 eco-farms in China. Our goal is to have 40% of eco farms with an average area of 100 to 250 mu. The agricultural input takes up 20% for the eco farms. Population aging and the shortage of workforce indeed will exert a negative impact on the development of eco farms in China. In terms of a technical input in eco farms, we focus on the input of fertilizers. These technical measures for them to be implemented are in need of a workforce. And the mechanization is also an important aspect in this regard. It is true that the input may be costly. If an eco farm, it is actually not quite realistic to achieve large-scale eco farms. So our idea is that the eco farm, regardless of their size, they should adopt suitable and context-sensitive technical measures. Actually, the smaller the eco farm, the more technical measures can be well implemented in the farms. This is the scenario in China. Thank you, Professor Qiao. Just now, you mentioned that starting from 2016, we have such kind of surveys in around 500 eco farms in China. Many universities, including China agricultural universities, the students, the postgraduate students and doctoral students, they have engaged in such kind of eco farm growth. And a guideline on the growth of eco farm is enacted for China. And many eco farms have applied machines and equipment in their production. Maybe in the future, China and Germany can have a more in-depth cooperation in terms of agricultural mechanization and the equipment application in the farms. My next question is for Mr. Knob. My question is, how does Germany improve farmers' understanding and their ability to apply the organic soil crop livestock system through education and training? Miss Knob, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I know, as a postdoc there are no incentives to support farmers in this regard. Consequent crop livestock integration as part of circular livestock system is rather a novel approach in Germany. And the underlying research is also just starting. What we see furthermore is rather the negative narratives that are still dominating the debate around farm animals, such as welfare problems, excessive nitrogen and greenhouse gases. These positive attributes, such as crop livestock systems and the circular livestock husbandry, which aim at support food security and farm resilience, are not in the agenda yet. In this regard, the new projects like the Green Dairy and the Clean Farms project that I presented to you, they are pioneers in bringing this debate into the scientific level. But what we know is that farmers learn from each other. And in this way, some events or some field days like we had at our research farm last year, where we had 212,000 people visiting the farm to see what we are doing there. And not only organic farmers, but also conventional farmers. These are a good way to show how can we improve our entire system.
Thank you for your response. You just mentioned about the incentive measures taken by the government to help the farmers to learn and increase their application of such a circular system. So we needed to have further discussions in this issue. Our next question is for Katharina Riehn. Your presentation is about meat consumption. I want to ask you, in the future, with the impact of factors such as population growth, resource scarcity, and environmental changes, how will the trend of meat consumption develop, and how should we respond?
Thank you for the question. I think this is really a good one because when you see it in a global way, I feel that in the next few years, the meat consumption will still rise. But as I explained before, in very developed countries like Germany, but also other European countries and also in the United States, there is a growing awareness of the problems that are that are coming with this high proportion of meat consumption. And I talked about that earlier when I see my students and I teach undergraduate and graduate students, and it's mostly young women I'm teaching. And when I'm talking to them, they are really, really aware of the situation because they are coming to be moms and they are very aware of the future and the future impact of meat consumption. And for them, it is absolutely normal not to eat meat or animal protein. And I think this new normal is something we have to adapt. And as I said, also, this is not something you can do with a snap of your finger. It's a really, really slow process because changing eating habits is one of the most difficult things you can try. But we have to encourage people. And sometimes I feel we often tend to say what people are doing wrong. You should do better this, you should do better that, and you should do like this. But I think a big factor is also to encourage people and tell them it's good if you eat one meat, or if you have one day of meat less a week. And this is a good start. And we often tend to be so strict with our measures and everything should go big. But I think it is also the small steps. And if we convince more and more people to turn to the so-called flexitarians, people who eat meat in a really, really small amount, then we have reached so much more than telling all the people you should be vegan and everything, because it will just lead to resistance, and this does not help the whole situation.
非常感谢啊，刚才这个李岩教授。
Thank you, Ms. Professor Katharina Riehn. It is not a snap of your finger to change people's eating habit. It is true. And the work for the researchers is to provide more diversified food choices for the people. So this is all of our panel discussion. It is already 12 o'clock. Thank you all the panelists for your insightful input. Thank you.
各位专家、各位代表，今天我们非常有幸聆听了中国、德国6位权威专家的。
Today we listened to the reports of 6 experts and discussed on the development of eco farms. At present, ecological agriculture is still facing many pressures and challenges in China. Both China and Germany are countries with strong agricultural strengths, and we have a vast room for cooperation and exchanges. We can support each other and learn from each other to achieve win-win results. Lastly, on behalf of Mara, I would like to thank the organizers and hosts of the event and wish the event fruitful results, as well as good health and best luck for every one of you. This is the end of the event today.